Welcome to Unstoppable Stories That Move. I'm your host, Sally Head Dahlquist. I've traveled all over the world to run marathons and am fascinated by the ordinary people who do extraordinary things. They just won't quit. No matter what life throws at them, they keep going. Mile after mile, challenge after challenge, they find a way to push beyond their limits. So listen as these seemingly normal people share their stories of resilience from the race course and beyond, and inspire us to keep moving forward too. Let's get to it. Hi, everyone. I'm Sally Head Dahlquist, zooming in from Afton, Minnesota. So thanks for tuning in today. I'm here with the unstoppable Rhea Deroian, who is an unstoppable athlete, runner, and streaker. Not the 1970s kind of streaker. That means she's run every day for over 12 years. As of January 2026, she's run 4,410 days in a row, every day. Oh my God. And shows no sign of stopping. Today, she is recently and happily married with 2 dogs. But Rhea wasn't always this happy. She knows how hard it is to keep going, how hard it is to face the truth when times are tough, when things go bad, and to leave an abusive relationship. When her first husband became abusive, she ran faster. Before, she used to run to get away from her partner. Now, she can't wait to get home to her new husband. So Rhea, say hi.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Great. I'm so glad you were able to make it today, and it's been super fun reconnecting with you.
Yeah, I love getting to run into you at our different races around the world. It's been quite fun.
Yeah, so Rhea and I originally met in Antarctica. Oh my God, in March of 2024.
Of all places.
Yeah, I was there with my husband, and you were there with a couple people. Tell me about your posse.
Yeah, so there was a big group of us from Raleigh that came. We were a group of 10, and one of my best friends and I had signed up to do Antarctica back in 2018. And due to COVID, and then she also got married, and then her husband wanted to come. And so, through all those life changes from when we originally signed up, we kept deferring it back. And then we finally got to go 6 years later. It was a 6-year dream of hers and her and I. And so we had a contingent of 10 from Raleigh that came down to do it, and it was a blast. And there was actually 6 of us that
Mhm.
are run streakers that were on the ship, so that I wasn't alone in the adventure of running on the boat down the Drake Passage in Antarctica every day and then back on the Drake Passage. So it was quite fun to have company and figure out, okay, how are we going to run while the ship's literally rocking?
Yeah, I would walk by the gym there and notice people were running, and I was like, oh God, we just ran this marathon yesterday. Why are they in the gym? And then the boat's going up and down, and they wanted to close the treadmills and everything, and people are like, no.
Yeah, do you know what we did? We ran in the hallways.
No,
Yep.
really?
Yeah, so the day we left Ushuaia and came around the tip of Cape Horn, so the rule with the run streakers, for those who aren't initiated, is you have to run at least one continuous mile every calendar day. So you can run at midnight, you can run at 11 p.m., and as long as you get 1 mile within that calendar day, that counts.
Okay.
So we were coming around Cape Horn, and I was listening at dinner to the captain talking on our boat. And it was like, ooh, like we're probably going to start to hit the Drake around 1 a.m. So I went
Hmm.
back to the room and I was like, Jen, who's also a run streaker. And I was like, we're going to hit the Drake at 1. You know what we should do? Let's stay up, go do our run right after midnight in the hallway. And then that way we're not trying to battle. Cause again, the gym was closed. Like we actually, our first idea was like, we'll go up to the gym. So we
Yeah.
popped up to the 6th floor and the gym was closed. And so we're like, okay, we can't run on the treadmill. So hallway miles. So we ran for 20 minutes just up and down the hallway. And it's hard because it's like you can't judge distance on a Garmin because the ship's moving. So then
Yes.
you do like a treadmill mile and then you do it by
Yep.
time. Like I know
Yep.
within 20 minutes, that's at least, 2+ miles. And so I was like, that counts. And my watch had recorded about that as well. So I was like, I trust that to be at least, 20 minutes is at least a mile. So we can count that. And so we did that. And it was just like a challenge every day to figure out, okay, when the gym is open, that's easy. Just hop on the treadmill, do a couple miles, call it a day. The easiest day to run streak was the day of the marathon, which is, kind
Yeah.
of funny because it was like, oh, we already know we're running today. That's no stress. But the best run of Antarctica is funny enough was the day after the marathon. I don't know
Hmm.
which group you were on for the tour, but we had gone to Portal Point, and remember it was snowing, and we were able to take a picture with the finish line banner on that little like
Yeah.
peninsula.
Yes.
And we were allowed, because of whatever reason, we were actually allowed to like play in the snow there.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there and there's like whales going by and everyone's taking the picture with their medals and like stuff. And there's like some seals. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, two people from our group, my friends Joe and Jen, start running by. And I turn to my other friend Jen, and we just look at each other, and we instantly start stripping down of our heavy coats to go like, "Oh, we're doing our streak mile here. Let's go."
We're
And
streaking.
so,
We're streaking
yeah,
now.
yeah. And so we ripped off a couple layers because you get hot. So I was in
Yeah.
snow pants, snow
Yep.
boots, in snow on like a tilted, there was definitely like a pretty good pitch to where we were, hanging her
Yeah.
out. And we're just running up and down. And then other people on the boat were like, this is fun. And they weren't even run streakers, and they started running with us. And it
Yep.
was just like the funnest thing. I was like, I just never pictured I'd be down in Antarctica running in the
Oh.
snow with like watching whales go by and other people,
Oh.
in snow booths with like these marathoners who were just like, hey, this is fun and joining us. It was like such a day, like top
Oh.
10 favorite runs of all time was just this silly mile in the snow.
Oh God. That trip too, I think was some of the happiest days of my life as
Yeah.
well. Because
Yeah.
so for people who didn't know, we took a ship across from the tip of South America. You start at this town called Ushuaia, and then you cross 600 miles across the Drake Passage. And the Drake Passage is just known for high waves, winds, and it can be super, super wavy or
Yep.
flat. And we were lucky that
Yep.
we had the Drake Lake, both
We had
going
the Drake
there
Lake.
and back. It was pretty calm. I think they had 10-foot swells. And our ship was also a new ship from 2021, and it had fins on it to
One of the stabilizers.
yeah, stabilize it. And we went to the Russian base. The day that we ran the marathon, they didn't let us stay on the beach and loiter around because they don't want people disrupting the serenity
Research.
of yeah. And so
Yeah.
you had to run your marathon, get off as fast as possible. So the next day we had a huge photo op on this other island, and they set up the banner and the finish line, and we could all take our fancy pictures. And yeah, it was incredible. Like sitting on the boat on all those whales. And on the last day, Mike and I were the last two in the hot tubs as the boat is pulling out of the bay. We're still in the hot tub watching all the whales. I'm like, I never want to leave this hot tub.
That's so funny. So we did the hot tub after we did the polar plunge. Did you guys do the polar plunge?
No, we stood on the balcony and watched everybody do the polar plunge.
Oh, it's one of those ones where I didn't want to do it. It doesn't appeal to me, but
Yeah.
I have this like thing in my head where I knew if I did it in Antarctica, no one could ever try to guilt trip me into doing it anywhere else in the world because
Yep.
I already did it in Antarctica. Like that checks
Yeah.
that box. I do not need to do it anywhere else. So
Well, my thinking was kind of the opposite. It's like, I'm from Minnesota. I swim
you
in
don't need
freaking freezing cold water all the time. I ain't going in. I've done that.
to. I see, and I'm from California, so that was like my only opportunity to do it in some place like pretty epic.
Yeah. I
So
still think we should have done it after all, but oh well. I'll just have
we
to go back.
Yeah, exactly. We had watched the previous years do it, and they do it off the side of the boat, and then you get out,
Yeah,
and then you get
that's
to
what I
go like
like.
immediately hop in the shower. So then when all the tour guides were telling us, we're going to do it off the shore, it's going to be so much better. And all of us were like, no, it's not. That sounds terrible. That is a
That's
worse idea. And
I
in
know.
fact, can confirm 10 times worse because you don't realize,
Yeah.
well, you have to strip down.
Yeah.
And so you're in all your heavy clothes, which takes like 30 minutes to get dressed on when you're dry. So
Mhm.
you have to strip down, have your suit on underneath, and then you have to walk on the freezing cold rocks and force yourself all the way out. So it feels
Yep.
like there's like needles in your feet as you're like wading
Yeah.
out. It is miserable. And then you dive in, and then you have to get out and get dressed. That also is a whole entire process with multiple
Oh,
layers to then
yeah.
get back on and you're wet and you're clammy because you're cold.
Yep.
And then take the Zodiac back to the ship. I was like, this is a terrible idea. So we got in the hot tub after with a little bit of, that ship had that good Argentinian wine. And so we had a
Oh
little
yeah.
bit of vino in the hot tub and we're like, all right, that makes it a little better.
Yeah, we stood on the balcony with our binoculars and watched everybody doing that, and I'm like, nope, I know what that's like. If we could just jump off the boat into the water and swim a tad, I'd be all over that. I've done that, because in
Yeah,
In Minnesota,
Minnesota.
we have tons of saunas. And, the Finnish people, their deal is you get in the sauna, you get all sweaty, and then you go outside and you roll around in the snow, just like grumpy old men, or you jump in the lake and then you go back in the sauna. And honestly, I hate that. Like, I just like to be warm and cozy. But,
Yeah, I'm just not a snow person, like a cold weather person growing up where I did. And I will
mhm.
say though, Antarctica completely changed my perspective on cold weather places. It is some of the most beautiful landscape I've ever seen. It is just so stunning. So yeah, I definitely think they're like I've never been to Minnesota except for the airport. And now I'm like, I would love to go because I would love to.
Well, next time you pass through, let me know. I'm
I do.
30 minutes east of MSP.
Okay. I definitely will.
Yeah. Growing up here, I do like the snow. I like the winter. We have four very distinct seasons.
Mm.
And so you see all the changes, the leaves changing. In fact, it's a beautiful winter day here, too. It's been kind of warm. So we have some snow and it's sunny right now and it's supposed to snow later. But Mike wants to go out this afternoon and go hunting for deer antlers.
Oh.
Because we're in the country, we got 10 acres and we got hundreds of deer in our area. In fact, there's two eagles flying over me right now.
Oh,
Aw.
that's cool.
But except it's like 10 degrees out, so it's cold.
Yeah,
And he wants to find some antlers before it snows later tonight.
that's fun.
And then I want to turn them into a chandelier.
Yeah, I've seen those. They're quite lovely. Like, and you get in like a log cabin with all of the
Mhm.
rustic antlers pieces.
Yeah,
And yeah.
that's what I want. And he already has two of them from other hunting trips that he went on. And I'm frugal and I'm cheap and I like to make things. Like we should be able to make our own and find them for free in our yard.
So funny.
And those animals in Antarctica too. I mean,
Oh,
I felt like I was an invader. Like humans don't belong there.
yeah, you feel and it's really hard to describe it. And I still think of it now. It's kind of like it feels like a movie I watched, not something I actually experienced.
Yeah.
Because it's just so it's like very, for lack of a better word, indescribable of just how vast and like amazing. I kept using the word epic, which is not in my normal daily
Yeah.
repertoire.
Yeah.
And I would just say, like, people are like, "How's your day?" Ugh, epic. And it was just like
Yeah.
the only time I've been to all seven continents, and it's the only time that word has been the most used because it just is just incredible.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I remember we were kayaking and me and Jen were bopping around and having fun and kayaking, and there was this leopard seal on an iceberg. And
Yes.
I'm in the front seat. Yeah. I'm in the front seat of the kayak and we kind of pedal up and it huffed and I felt the breath on my face. And I was like,
Wow.
we gotta back up. This guy could eat my face off.
So my kayaking pictures are what we used for the website. So
Oh,
we got
cool.
pictures
Okay.
of me and Mike from Antarctica, and then we're in the kayak. And yeah, because I saw those pictures, I'm like, oh my God, this is one of those epic days that can't be beat.
Mhm.
And there was a leopard seal too that was going in and out of the water, and he pops his head up and he looks at us. I'm like,
Oh,
he wants to eat us. He's hungry. He's checking us out to see if he can eat. It's like his head was like
well, their teeth.
are
Their teeth are
huge.
ooh.
Yeah.
My husband teases me because I'm a big animal lover. And so
Mhm.
like I like to think like I could make friends with animals and they wouldn't eat me. And he's kind enough to remind me that is not the case. And the
Yeah.
leopard seal being like up close to it, I was the first time I was like, ooh, it's friend shaped, but it is not a friend. It would
Yes.
want to eat you. They're
Yep.
beautiful though. It was very fun to see everybody's pictures, as we're hanging out on the ship and going to different things and seeing like, oh, like you went out on this zodiac, so you got a different angle, and so you got this perspective, and sharing pictures with people and like this, look at this leopard seal. I caught it, like you said, like poking up out of the water.
Hmm.
Yeah, I look back at those pictures. I have like a little digital photo frame in my house in my kitchen. And
Yep.
I just have Antarctica pictures there because I just like they pop up and they always make me smile.
Oh, yeah, we got one of those too. In fact, for Christmas, like 2 or 3 years ago, I bought I bought one of those photo frames for everybody in Mike's family. And it
Aw.
turns out that his brother has been using it the most. Like he's been scanning and adding notes to old photos and uploading them to the picture frame. And he said, he's always liked history and family history. And he said, wow, now he feels like he has more of a purpose when he's
Aw.
investigating these pictures. He can actually share them with us. I'm like, Oh, that's great. So I bought another set for my family.
I love that. That's a great gift.
So now we have one for us with our vacations, one for Mike's side of the family, and one for my side of the family.
Yeah, the vacation photos on the digital photo frame are always like such a joy 'cause you're like, oh,
I know Antarctica was just like
yeah,
the
we could talk
ultimate
about that
trip
forever. So we,
forever. Yeah. And we went with Marathon Tours, just to give them a
yeah,
little
shout
plug.
out to Marathon Tours and Jeff. We love you.
Jeff, the masochist race director with a difficult race course.
I know. Yeah, that if you so funny story. We're actually doing the group that went to Antarctica, we're doing Patagonia in May.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah. So we're doing that. That'll be my fifth continent of running a marathon on to finish out the seven, but we're slowly working on it. I got Antarctica out of the way early.
Yeah. Is that also Marathon Tours?
Yeah. And so we're going through marathon tours.
I should go.
Yeah, Jeff is he's awesome. He is
Yeah.
the best.
As a race director.
Yeah, he's really lovely. And he's a big, he's a big
Yeah.
inspirational runner as well. We saw him
Yeah.
in London too.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, but the big group of us doing we're going to Patagonia and the race elevation. That's where I was getting with this. So apparently the Patagonia race course is even worse than Antarctica. So we're like, oh,
Yeah.
great, we're going for it.
I had heard that too. I'm like,
Yeah.
Jeff, can't you just make it easy on us? We're coming all the way down here. I just want
I
a
mean,
nice flat course.
hard is what makes it more rewarding, I think. And so, it's easy to complain when you're in the moment. And you're like, man, I just wish this was flatter. But then afterwards, you're like, that was pretty fun. That
Yeah,
was
it's
a
like,
hard thing, and that's what makes it like very worthwhile.
yeah, the harder it is, the more rewarding it is at the end.
100%.
Thank God I'm done.
Yeah, but that's why, see,
I
that's
did
why I
it.
like the marathon. It's like the perfect balance for me of like speed and attrition. Like you have to go
Uh-huh.
fast enough to get it done quick enough, but you can't. Whereas like you've an ultra race, you're allowed to go slow, so you like it doesn't feel quite as intense.
Hmm.
But you're going for obviously much longer, which is a very different obstacle. So I think that's why I've always kind of geared and aligned myself with the marathon is it's that perfect balance of it's long enough that it sucks, but you have to be fast enough to make it like a challenge.
Yeah.
I think that's why I've always like aligned myself with that distance is that's what speaks to me. But again, everybody has their preferred races. And I think we all think anybody else's preference is like, the 5K, I feel like you're a masochist because that 5Ks hurt. I hate a 5K. And then you got people like my friend Jen who does, 100 milers, 24-hour races. And I'm like, I've done one of those. I'm good.
Yeah. I aspire to do 100 miles someday. I'm not there yet.
Yeah, I did 100K at a 24-hour race and I felt pretty good about that. And then I've had the worst blisters I've ever had in my life because
Oh.
that also is something that you have to like really learn. And I discovered I was definitely out of my depth in. You have to change your socks so often and there's a level, especially it
Hmm.
was a very sandy course. And so there's a way of, in marathon, you just grit it out for a couple hours and then you're done. Whereas when a
Yeah.
24-hour race, you really have to prevent problems before they start. Otherwise, you're in a hole and you can't dig yourself out of it. And I definitely did not take care of my feet for that race and learned the hard way.
Oh, wow. So I've not done 100K. I've done a 50K, which is like 31 miles.
Yeah.
And I have only gotten blisters once out of
Oh, bless.
177 marathons. I've only had one blister, and that was my very first race on my toe, my pinky toe. And so I lube up with Vaseline on my
Mm.
feet. I just slather it on. What do you do? Tell me about the socks. You got to change your socks. And
Yeah, for the ultras, it was something I hadn't realized, and I wore ankle socks. But again, when you're in a sandy ultra, the taller socks, they were shoe gaiters, which I didn't realize the utility for until I realized, oh, that's actually pretty smart.
yep.
There's a
Hmm.
whole way. Jen is, the ultra queen. She is fantastic about knowing what to do with those long distances. She can run for days. So yeah, there is a lot that you don't know until you kind of get familiar with those longer races.
Hmm.
And so yeah, so her thing, so we did the Hinson 24-hour, which is an incredible race here in North Carolina that she is a part of the run club that puts it on.
Hmm.
And yeah, there's a lot of strategies in, pacing yourself for that distance. Whereas I took off like a bat out of heck for the first 20 miles and then realized, oh, I should probably slow down. So, and yeah, and then there's strategy to, changing socks, changing shoes, fueling, because when you're going for that length of time, you have to make sure you're constantly eating, which was actually my most fun part I had is I just got to eat all day.
Yeah. Yep.
which is, when you're running a marathon and you're trying to run for speed, that's not the easiest thing to do.
I saw this fun meme one time where it was a woman talking to her husband, and she tells her husband, I just ran an ultra. And he looks at her and says, seriously? She goes, all right, I just ran and walked an ultra. And he goes, seriously? She goes, all right, I ran a little bit, walked around in the woods, and ate quesadillas for 24 hours. That's an ultra.
Uh, yeah, the ultra people are like such a fun crowd. It is a whole nother world. Yeah, there's a lot of eating. I volunteered, I paced friends for different races as a part of their 100-mile races. So I've done like mile 70 to 90 for a friend.
Mm-hmm.
I paced a lap of the Olmsted 100 a couple of years ago for another friend. And there's M&Ms, there's quesadillas,
Yeah.
there's hamburgers.
Yeah.
Whereas when I run, I have like the weakest stomach on the planet. So I struggle
Mm.
with fuel intake. And so I was like, man, you guys are, guts to steel. And then you do one and then you realize that the stressors on your body is just different. And
Hmm.
so I munched the whole 24 hours. It was lovely.
Nice. Hey, so what are your stats? I know you've done your streak, your 4,410 days in a row,
Yes.
and streaking is kind of your jam. What else do you do? You love the marathons.
Love the marathons. So we talked about that. Running stats or life stats. What do we?
How about you? Give us your running stats first. We'll start with that.
Okay. Yeah. So like you said, the streak is over 4,410 days as of today. I ran before this. So I celebrated 12 years in December.
December 2025.
Yeah. So December 2025 was my 12-year birthday. The streak is almost a teenager. I'm very excited for her for that. She's hitting the teen years coming up later this year. Yeah, so the marathon, that being my favorite distance and having had a lot of excitement for it, which I still do, it's just shifted over the years. I did break three. I ran 2:53 at my first Boston. The
Oh.
half PR is a 1:24. And then it gets progressively not as exciting. I'm just not built for shorter distances. Like I said, I hate the 5K. So there's that. I've run like 24 different states in the street, 20 countries, which is fun. I've been to every continent, haven't run on every continent yet. The big goal, as you know, and you shared,
Mhm.
is doing the marathon on every continent,
Yep.
which is like such a fun joy as somebody who loves to travel, of combining my love of
Mm.
marathons with my love of travel.
Yeah.
That has been like the best convergence of two of my biggest passions.
Hmm.
It's my favorite way to discover new places is to just go out, go for a run. And the streak really abides by that because every day I have to, like, I don't care if we're in Norway. I have to go running. And then I get to see stuff. It's lovely.
And you said you did what, three ultras up to
Yeah.
100K?
So I did the 24-hour race at Hinson a couple years ago, and I tapped out at 100K. You didn't get a medal unless you did 100K, and I'm stubborn.
Oh,
So
you have to have the medal. I
I had
would
to do the
totally
100K.
keep going.
Not even gonna lie, I walked the last 15 miles because
Oh, I
my
would too.
feet were so hurting. And so I was like, well, I will walk. I don't care. I've got 8 hours. I can walk 15 miles. And so I did.
Yep.
Yeah. And then I did a 50K out when I still lived in California, Harding Hustle, which was also redonkulous. You peak like three mountain summits right outside of LA, and it's all rocky. The name is very fitting. It was not hustly, but it was very hard.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did during COVID, I did the Yeti challenge, which is like you run every 4 hours. And I did like 33 miles in a day, which was fun. So
Mm-hmm.
one of those like kind of backyard ultra kind of things.
Yeah. Where was the Yeti challenge?
Just from my house, it was in Raleigh.
Oh, okay. Because
Yeah, so it was like a virtual.
okay,
So maybe that doesn't technically count, but I did do it. So
I'd count it. If you did a virtual, you paid. They
yeah.
mailed you
So
a
it was
medal.
cool. You run, I think it was 5 miles, or I forget what the exact distance was because I went over it,
Mm-hmm.
but you run every 4 hours, and you're supposed to do 30K or 50K, sorry, excuse me, over 4 hours. So you do about six, whatever the math is. And then
Mm-hmm.
I was 33 at the time, so I did 33 miles in 24 hours, however that math worked out.
Oh.
Yeah, it was fun. And then I had different friends. One of my girlfriends got up at 4 a.m. to run with me. And
Oh.
we actually saw a cop and he's like, "Are you girls okay?" We're like, "We're good." We're just running.
It's nice. Nice that he
Yeah.
checks on you.
Yeah, it was low. Yeah, Raleigh's a really great area. Very safe. I have a lot of safe places to run, which is quite a
Mhm.
privilege. And so the cop was in my
Yeah.
neighborhood and was just like, "You good?" We're like, "Yeah, we're just doing silly COVID challenges because we're bored."
So in November, I went down to Kansas City with a couple friends, and we ran
Mm.
the Yeti endurance run there. It's
Oh, fun.
um,
Okay.
and it was at this park. So that's what I was asking about the Yeti. I think there's quite a few of them out there. But that one, we just did the Yeti marathon. It was great. So I recommend that one.
I love that. I love learning. We're both doing Tokyo, big city races.
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited.
I'm super excited for Tokyo, especially to get the 6 star. It hasn't been a goal I've chased to get it done quickly. So I'm glad to finally be at the end of it,
Hmm.
kind of taking my time finishing those because I don't traditionally enjoy the bigger city races. I kind of like the smaller, more niche, more local ones.
Hmm.
And so to get to learn about like you said, Kansas, or I know you just did one in Alabama. And so it's fun to learn all. And then again, you get to sightsee while you do it. And sometimes you get to
Yeah.
sightsee in a place that you wouldn't normally go to.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the bigger joys about it is you get to see so much while you run so much.
Hmm.
So yeah, I definitely am excited to start doing some of the smaller, less big city races after the majors are done.
Yeah, I just got back from Mobile, ran that marathon in January 2026, and I learned that Mardi Gras started in Mobile. So,
That's a fun fact.
yeah, and for them, the holiday season goes from basically Thanksgiving through Mardi Gras. So they have like 4 months of holidays. They get the days off, the kids get out of school, and all along the race course, people were throwing out their Christmas trees and then replacing all the red and green with the purple, green, and gold. So
Oh,
they're
I love that.
all around the door frames and everything. And oh, in fact, it's still the Mobile Marathon, but it
Okay.
starts at Mardi Gras Park.
Oh, that's fun.
And they started somewhere in the 1800s sometime. So that was pretty neat. It's pretty cool.
I love when I get introduced to a fun fact and then I open a tab in Google to like remind myself to read about it later. I love doing that. So like I just
Yeah.
literally opened a tab on my phone, like Mardi Gras history. So I'm going
Uh-huh.
to read about that. The only
Okay.
problem is sometimes I take my time getting around to reading about it and then I have like
Hmm.
100 tabs open of stuff that I
Yeah.
need to read.
So I've got one section for podcasts. I've got another tab open for marathons with like 100 pages open. And then
Love.
I
Okay.
and then I got another tab for wordsmithing because I'm kind of a word nerd and do all these crossword puzzles and games and stuff. Just play Scrabble.
Do you do the daily Wordle? Are you a Wordle gal?
I don't do it every day. I do that
Okay.
in streaks here and there. Lately, I've been doing the spelling bee a lot, and I have a couple friends who are on some of the mini that I did actually pay for a subscription to the New York Times games.
So if you want another fun fact about me
Uh-huh.
is I also am a streaker within Wordle and
Oh
other
yeah.
yes. So my Wordle streak is I hiked Machu Picchu in 2023. So my
Uh-huh.
Wordle streak is from there because we're in the mountains with no cell service. I can't do Wordle on the side of a mountain
Yeah.
in Peru. So
Yep.
my Wordle streak currently is at 825 days in a row. And then I
Oh.
also do the global because I like to travel, and that one's at 894.
Oh, I don't know about the global. What is
Oh,
that?
so it's got a picture of the globe, and then you pick a country, and then every day is a different country. So, like, let's say you start with Italy. So if you
Mm-hmm.
start with Italy, it'll be like today's country is 4,943 miles away from Italy. So then you think, okay, then you triangulate distance. So like, all right, South America, maybe Colombia is about 4,000 miles away, give or take. So then you do that and then you're like, ooh, you're actually, 1,290 miles away. And so then you triangulate that daily country.
Oh,
So
cool.
it's a fun, I have like my geographical knowledge has like I've always like really liked studying maps and so I always thought it was pretty
Mm-hmm.
decent. But playing global for so long for the last like 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
especially with like countries in Africa or ones where you don't know, maybe in the Middle East where you're like, I know Georgia is next to Armenia, but then where's Azerbaijan fit in? So you like get to
Mm-hmm.
like learn, you have a better understanding of geography, which is very fun.
Yep.
So yeah, it's just a little nerd game I play. So yeah, I have to wake up in the mornings and I do my urdles, as I tell my husband.
When I can't sleep at night, then I
Yeah,
open up the phone and play the games. I'm like, oh, I
love
probably
it.
shouldn't be doing this. I should just sit here and close my eyes, fall back asleep. But oh my God, spelling bee. I know. Elemental is one of the words. I got to enter it. I just came up with
I
it.
like words though. As I write for a living, so I'm always searching for different words, and it really bothers me when I can't find the word on the tip of my
Oh,
tongue.
I
I'm like,
know.
oh, what's that?
Yeah, I got the thesaurus open and the dictionary
Mm.
open all the time. And I'm doing that. Yeah. So tell me about your day job. What do you do in your normal life? I mean, do people know that you're an obsessive streaker and a runner?
Yes and no. It has been mentioned, especially during COVID, when the university I worked at is they had like a newsletter and they were just looking for stories to kind of keep us all connected as we were working remotely.
Hmm.
So it did come out. And at that time, I think I was 6, 7 years into the streak, and they were all like blown away by that.
Yeah.
And now it's doubled, which is quite silly. So they know. I also, when I take time off because I'm going, oh, like heads up, I'm going to be, taking some days off because I got to go run a marathon in Berlin. I'll be back.
Yep.
So
I
they
love
do
that.
know. And they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, popping around, running.
Yep.
Again, I think Antarctica is still the most impressive. Everybody always wants to hear about that, which is always
Yes.
fun. Yeah, so they know they don't have to be runners to appreciate that it is like just this fun little kooky thing that we do.
Hmm.
But yeah, they're very supportive, which is lovely.
What is your day job? You said you're a writer.
I write grant proposals and budgets for higher education programs. So whether it's research, scholarship, funding to support new equipment, most universities, public institutions, so they operate on state budgets. So anytime they need new equipment or if they want to evolve a program, expand a program, they'll seek outside funding for that. So I write those proposals.
So do you find the sources of funding as well, or does someone tell you,
I
hey,
do.
okay.
Yeah, a little bit of both. Maybe the faculty member PI will have like, oh, there's this grant opportunity that I know about, I want to apply for. They'll bring that to me. We'll work on it together. Other times it'll be like, hey, we really need funding to support, this program. We need to get, scholarships or uniforms or equipment or whatever the case may be. And then I go online and I try to find, okay, what's an institution that their giving priorities align with this? And then how do I tailor that to make sure that we're a good fit for it?
Hmm.
So it's fun. It's creative. I feel like I'm a permanent college student because all I do is write persuasive papers
Oh,
all the
awesome.
time. And then I make budgets.
I might have to tap your brain a little bit because, I started this podcast with a purpose, to raise money
Yeah.
for medical research.
Yep.
Particularly right now in 2026, one of the labs we're giving money to is at the University of Minnesota with Dr. Mike Olin, who has some amazing cures for childhood brain cancer, which actually appears to be effective in stopping breast cancer that has metastasized into the brain. And
Oh,
so
that's incredible.
yeah, oh my God. Yeah, it's amazing. So his work is just astounding. And I'm not a professional fundraiser, so
Right.
I'm dipping my toes in that. I'm getting used to, I've been in the research world forever. We've got at my last job, we did get almost $2 million of NIH money for
Oh,
our
rocking.
diagnostic tools. But my
Yeah.
business partners were the ones who wrote those. I did the financial management. So, yeah. So if anybody wants to donate, to go to unstoppableStoriesThatMove.com. I'd appreciate
Yes.
it. That's what we're doing. That's
That type of research is so important because really higher education with the, working for an R1 research institution, that research is so pivotal
yeah.
in helping something that affects so many people
Mhm.
to have a better outlook, to have a better life, to have a cure would be amazing.
Mhm.
And the only way that's possible is through research funding.
Yeah. Yeah, it truly takes a village, and each scientist is such a unique specialist with their particular pathway of biochemistry that they're studying. So,
Hmm.
I say there's a million ways that people get cancer or get sick. And understanding each molecule and what it does brings you one step closer to making a drug out of it. Like, okay, so, it's like insulin and diabetes. What does
Yeah,
insulin do? It helps regulate the blood sugar. Okay, if you can make a synthetic version of that, then you have a drug that can help people. So that's what
right.
they're looking for. When they talk about drug targets, think of insulin. They're looking for biochemical molecules like that you can either increase or decrease.
Yeah, and see, and I'm not smart. I'm not science. My brother is a chemistry guru. That's what his major and all his research was chemistry. And I always say he's my older brother. And I say
Yeah.
he took all the chemistry brains and left me absolutely zero. So I'm not the smart sciencey person, but I am the word person. So I will write and then let the smarter people fill in the science part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So cool. So you have like a super cool career. I mean, that is really going to help the world. It's amazing how, you find more satisfaction in your job knowing that it really does have a purpose and then it's helping people. So let's go back to when you started running. How did you get into fitness? I mean, what the heck possessed you do the streak and start running and get strong? Was something going on? Did somebody inspire you for that?
Yes, and which actually dovetails with a pivot from work nicely. So I was never a runner. I grew up in Southern California. I just like to be in the water. And so I was like, what sport would get me in water? I like to swim. So I did swimming, I did water polo, and then loved that. I grew up playing soccer, but I have terrible vision and foot hand eye coordination. So I was not very good. But you couldn't keep me in a position on the field. They'd be like, just go play sweeper. You want to be everywhere. And so
Okay.
which was like my first hint growing up that maybe running was for me. But it still didn't really hit. And then when I was in college, I was working, funny enough, I worked in a real estate office. I started as a receptionist and then I became assistant to this awesome rock star group, pair of real estate agents, women. And my boss, Sue, at the time, who I'm still friends with, was a marathon runner. And she was in her 50s. I was, 19 when I started working for her. And she ran marathons and she'd come back. I remember she went and did the Nashville Rock and Roll Marathon one time and came back. She brought me a hat and I was like, I don't even know how far that is. What's a marathon? And she just, she was over twice my age and she was just so fit. And I would just look at her calves and I was like, you're so strong. This is so impressive.
Yeah.
And I wasn't doing any sports. I was very athletic through high school, doing sports all year. And then I stopped when I was in college. And so I think I was just
Yep.
looking for something to do.
Hmm.
And running was easy and cheap and I could do it on my own. I didn't need to pay to join anything. And so, here was this person who was running and I found that very inspiring. And so she asked, do you want to go for a run with me? And I said, sure. And she's like, we're going to do, 5 miles around my neighborhood. And I was like, cool, I can do that. She
Okay.
ran me into the ground. I was
Yeah.
dying. And I just remember, I was 19. I should have been fit. And I just,
Yeah.
I've always been like a pretty petite person. And I just was like, oh, I am not as fit as I thought I was. Uh,
Yep.
and she's just chatting away, just breezing through, and that kind of put the bug in me. And so while I was working for her, I signed up for a half marathon. This was pre-social media, pre-knowing anything about racing.
Yep.
This is over 20 years ago, and I just was like, oh, I just will do a half. And so I picked one. I was like, oh, where would be a fun place to run? San Diego. That sounds great. So I did the La Jolla half, not realizing that mile 6 is entirely uphill through the golf course of Torrey Pines, and that is miserable. And I
Okay.
don't think I had run longer than 6 or 7 miles at that point. So I was like,
Oh.
oh, I'm tapped out already.
Okay.
And I finished, and that was like rewarding, but it was very tough. And again, when you don't know what you don't know, it's very hard to prepare for.
Yep.
The running boom and social media and, plans and like, online forums and things like that was not something that was like readily available as it is now. So I just was really
Hmm.
starting from absolute no experience and no one to really talk to except for my boss.
Yep.
So
What was your boss's name again? Can you say that?
Sue, yeah, my little shout out to Sue.
Oh,
She's
yay.
still, that was back in 2000. I started working for 2007. And
Uh-huh.
so she still runs marathons. So 20 plus years later, she's still running marathons. And
Wow.
yeah, her son is a Marine. And so she goes and they do the Marine Corps Marathon every year together. I think they're 20 plus years deep into that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, she's slowed down over the years, but she's still running in her 70s, just kicking butt. And I love that. She's my ultimate inspiration.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
cool.
I always tell her I want to be here when I grow up, and still chasing it.
I'm gonna talk to a friend of a friend here in Minnesota, Mary, who's
Mm,
still running in her 80s.
love it. It's a
Wow.
dream. That is the dream.
Yeah. Yep. I want to be them someday.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was still working for her. And then in grad school, I worked for her all through college and grad school, which was such a gift because she was the type of boss where it's, hey, I've got a final today. I need to take the day off because I need to study. And she, cool. Like it was just lovely. She just was absolutely fantastic
Hmm.
and supportive of whatever I needed. It kept me, employed all through school. And so she, even when I took a year off, lived abroad in Italy for a year, came back just to say hi. And she's like, you want your job back? Like, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Just like the best boss you could ever ask for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in grad school, I was like, Sue, I'm going to run a marathon. And she's like, so excited. So I
Mhm.
signed up the week I was graduating with my MBA. I ran the LA Marathon
Oh.
and couldn't really walk to my finals that day because I ran it on Sunday and took my finals that week. Was again,
Yeah.
I hadn't run longer than I think my longest run was less than 14 miles. So it was again, I
Oh,
went in
yeah.
vastly unprepared
Yeah.
and still did it.
I've heard you should run at least 16. I've always trained up to 20, 21. And I'm
Oh,
like, oh,
see, I
if
hate
I'm
20
running more than
milers.
20, I got to get a medal.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah, so it was just kind of this funny thing that I had just happened to work for an inspirational marathon runner, and she kind of put the bug in my ear. And, my first marathon was 2011, and 15 years later, I still think it's the most exciting distance.
Hmm.
And I share all my runs with her still. We're still Facebook friends, and she comments,
Oh,
and I'm always like, I did this because of you. Like, she gets credit
oh,
every race. She gets credit because she's the one who inspired it.
oh, yeah. I think we all have to kind of see somebody. You see somebody who does it. It may not be your thing, and then you think, well, maybe I should try it. If they can do it, maybe I can do it too. Even if I do
Yep.
it a little, just test it out, see if it's right. Because a lot of things you test out, you try it, and you realize, oh, that's not for me.
Right.
But then you find something that really sticks. So when you were running the LA Marathon, were you thinking a lot about your MBA test?
So
Did,
no, it was cold, it was raining. I have the fun, just I don't know if it's the fun coincidence where most big marathons for me, like important marathons, it rains. So I think the rain is sky magic. I just, everybody's battling it too, so I don't really complain. I think that's one of my biggest takeaways for anybody who wants to run a race and is you can't control the weather. So
yep.
stressing about it is like the
Hmm.
biggest waste of energy.
Yep.
There's no bad weather. It's bad like bad outfits. Like you can
Bad
dress for
clothing.
you can dress for any race weather. We ran in Antarctica. You can do it.
Yeah.
So I tend to find a little magic in the rain. And so my first marathon, it rained.
Oh,
My first sub 4 marathon, it rained and I fell at mile 2 because it was slick.
oh no.
My first Boston qualifying race, it rained. My first Boston, it rained. The marathon I won, it rained.
I was going to ask you, you're a winner too. You won a
Yeah.
marathon.
And I actually was going to tie that back in. So I showed up. There was a race in North Carolina that I ran. My stepdad passed away in 2017, and it was
Mm.
on his birthday in
Mm.
2019. So just a little over a year after he passed away. And it was on his birthday, and I picked it. And it's like, I feel like it's a smaller local race in North Carolina. And I was like, I feel like I could win this one. I've led races.
Mm.
I've led 10 miles of Big Sur. I led 20 miles of a race in Utah and then fell off to like third place. So I just knew I was like, I have it in me. I just want to win one. And I think this would be really special to do it on
Mm.
his birthday. And so
Yeah,
I showed up. It's a terrible weather day. It's cold, it's raining.
that's perfect.
And yeah, right. So I start running and I was in the lead from the jump and they had this female bike pacer
Yeah.
and she's lovely. She starts chatting with me and she's like, "What's your goal today?" And I was like, "Just to keep you on me this whole
Yeah.
race." And she's like, "Okay, we're going for it." And I always I hate pacing groups. No offense to anybody pacers. They're
Mm.
lovely. They help so many people. I run solo. I train solo. I'll run with a couple friends on occasion, but I really find joy in just running and being on my own. So I tend to
Hmm.
enjoy that. And so I run when I've run in one races, I like to run from the front. That's kind of how I race. And
Hmm.
it doesn't always pay off. So she's on me and I asked, I'm like, "What's your name?" And I kid you not, her name, and I still remember her name is Sue. And I
Oh.
said, "That's so funny because the woman who got me into running, her name is Sue." And so it kind of felt like this big kismet moment that like on this goal that I had this woman with me who was very reminiscent of the woman who got me into running to begin with. And so she paced me. She chatted with me. I was having a pretty tough day out there. Mentally, I just didn't feel great. And I was
Mhm.
ready to give up about mile 14. And I just was like, oh, well, I'll keep going
Oh,
until somebody passes
no.
me.
Yep.
And, you get in that. And I think that's also why I like the marathon distance. It's short enough that you can get home and get in your comfies after, but long enough that you do get into a little bit of a well. Anybody after mile 20, when you're pushing hard, there's a well there that
Yep.
that it tests you. And
Hmm.
so I was, feeling pretty crummy and feeling kind of sorry for myself. And all I could think about was my stepdad. And,
Uh-huh.
he passed. He was on hospice for 11 days. That was a really tough
Yeah.
experience. And that was probably one of the hardest things I've ever been through, was taking care of him and just being
Hmm.
around the clock care while he was on hospice before he passed. And I
Yeah.
just was like, think of Victor. You've been through worse. And so that was like my little mantra while I was running and really struggling. And Sue was on her bike, just pedaling next to me. And she was great. She's calling out, watch this sidewalk. As somebody, I have really bad eyesight. I am visually impaired. And so,
Hmm.
one of the things I've always benefited from, if I'm running with somebody and they know that, they're like, oh, watch this divot, watch this. Hey, careful of that. And so
Hmm.
it was a big help, and it kind of took that mental break off. And then also, sometimes turns are really hard for me when races, especially when I'm not familiar with where I'm at and you're
Hmm.
running fast. So I process things a little slower visually. And so she was calling out things. And so it really took off a little bit of mental load of not having to stress about what I was looking at.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons I don't do a lot of ultras and I don't do a lot of trail races, is visually I just can't see things well enough to like
Hmm.
have it be a safe experience. So yeah, so she was just keeping me. And then the girl in second place was actually a good friend of mine. And I was like, well, if Tricity passes me, she earns it. And I love her for that. And I know she would be just
Yep.
as excited as I would. And yeah, she kept me on it and I ended up winning. And that was like this really great experience. Something that was
Oh.
very special. And I did it for my stepdad.
Was that Oak Island?
That was, good memory. Yeah, Oak Island. Yep, that was Oak Island 2019. Not my best race time, but definitely it rained and it was hard earned, and it was a really special thing to get to check
Oh.
off the bucket list.
What was your time?
I think I ran it, was it 3:14?
Wow. Yeah.
It was a course record at the time, but another baddie has since taken it under 3 hours. So I no
Oh,
longer
awesome.
hold it. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's awesome.
The race I won, my time was 6 hours and 45 minutes.
Yes, I love that.
And I stopped at mile 26 to jump in the lake. I had no idea I was one of two women, and I didn't know
Oh my
I was in
gosh.
the lead.
I
God, if I
love
had known
that.
that, I would have tried. I walked all of my 19 with a dude. I'm like,
That's all
oh,
right.
well, this is still awesome. Still awesome.
A win is a win. I don't care. What's
Yeah.
so funny is just tying back into just things being kismet, is the woman who won the Antarctica race. Her name
Yeah.
was also Sue. Just, I love
Oh,
it. I get so inspired just by anybody doing something hard is just so impressive.
is that Sue from New York?
Yeah.
Yes. I actually didn't meet her until we were in the airport leaving. And I was
Oh,
like,
she's incredible. She's great.
oh, we should talk. And they're like, oh, the
Yeah, you
flight's
should.
boarding.
You
I'm
should.
like, oh,
Yeah.
I missed that one.
She's she's fascinating. She's so funny. Her and I started together, and I was just bopping along. I was chatting with my new friend at the time, Jason. Shout out to Jason in New Zealand, and we were just bopping along, and we were just enjoying the race together. And again, trail races for me are never going to be very fast, just because visually I process things slower.
Yeah.
And so I tend to be a little more gentle and a little more cautious with my steps. So we were just
Hmm.
bopping along, and Sue just took off, and then I find out later I knew she was going to win, and
Hmm.
we found out later she took her shirt off at the finish and ran in, and yeah,
Oh,
she's great.
and she's
That
quite a bit older than we are too.
I want to say
She,
she's in her 60s. Sorry if
yeah,
age to me, it used to be a thing that you don't ever ask a woman her age.
I
And
know.
now I'm like, you should, because they're amazing. And like, being incredible and being proud of your age isn't just a thing for youth. Like, I would love to be a woman in her 80s still running. I would love to be, still winning
Hmm.
marathons in my 60s. Like, that was incredible. She kicked my
Yeah.
butt.
Yeah. Yeah. So Dick Beardsley has this story when he won Grandma's Marathon, when he was
Mhm.
first arriving in Duluth, Minnesota. They checked him into a hotel and he was in room 209. And that he knew, like, that's my winning
209.
time. I'm going to do it.
Yep.
209. And he did. But yeah.
It's so funny with like I feel like anybody who runs a lot or, runs, you kind of tend to know and you have like a pace and you're like, this is where I'm at today.
Yeah.
And my husband will show up to races and he is like the absolute best supporter. And he will
Mm.
say, what are you going to run today? And I'll tell him I'm going to be between this and this. And he's like,
Yep.
okay. And then always when I finish, I am between that and that, and usually like dead center. And he's like, how
Yeah.
do you know? And I was like, you just kind of like dial in where you're like, I know
Yep.
I'm about this today. I'm going to run about this today. And then sometimes you have a better day, but mostly I think any of us who have committed enough time to it, we tend to have a good feeling of like, oh,
Yeah. Tom Perry is one of the pacers, and he's actually my first official guest. And
wow, I love that.
yeah, and he started pacing before all the watches and stuff, and they would call him the human metronome
Love
because
it.
you can just feel with your body how your body works. Like, where
Yep.
is my good pace? Where's my fast pace? Where's my pace that I need to slow down and breathe a little bit more?
Yep.
Where's the pace where I can talk, have that comfortable conversation? And where's the pace where I can't talk at all? Ah!
Yeah, the first time I qualified for Boston, I ran without a watch. I had no watch.
Mm-hmm.
And I just knew, I was like, okay, I'm running about 8-minute pace. This feels
Yeah.
good. And then there's like little clocks throughout the course so you can kind of gauge, all right, halfway,
Yeah.
that's about where I should be. Okay.
Yeah, getting a watch, like an official Garmin watch with a
Mm,
tracker and everything, was a game changer for me.
hmm
I mean, I had a Timex watch before that, which was great, and it had an intermittent timer, so I could get it to
mm.
beep like every 7 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever. And then getting one with a Garmin that actually had the miles on it while I was doing the race, that was amazing. I'm
That
like,
is,
okay,
my first
okay,
marathon, I trained with, had an iPod, and then it
hmm
had Nike had a chip that you'd put in your shoe, like you'd put
yeah,
it like on your laces, and it
yeah,
would like do its best to gauge just, I don't know how accurate it was,
uh huh,
but that's what I trained for my first trained in misnomer. I like did some effort for my first marathon. And and yeah, and I did that. And so now again, like I running, it's so funny that, especially with the world majors and running and COVID, I think COVID was a big part of the running boom as well,
hmm
is with all this like technology and access to information and training plans and tools and coaches and
hmm
social media, like it has made running so much more accessible for people who don't know what they're doing, where
hmm
I didn't have that luxury and like people before me didn't have that luxury, especially where it's like you either know somebody or you learn by trial and error.
yep.
And yeah, I love that with the plethora of information available now, it's just so much more accessible that, people can get help and,
I think people like those metrics. Like
yeah, people love it. Oh, I do.
you,
Yeah.
you work a little bit harder and you go, oh, here's a number. That was a
Hmm.
productive run. I
Hmm.
hate it when my Garmin says that was an unproductive workout.
Well,
What?
Garmin even knows that
I
their
know.
messages, they're haters. It's just very funny. It either annoys you or it fuels you. I just don't listen to
Yeah.
Garmin. I'm like, yeah, whatever. uh,
Really, you just got to go out there and run. You got to do it by how you feel, no matter what your watch says.
my favorite is, especially too, as I've gotten older and I take it's so funny. I remember starting running in my 20s and then just, I run with my neighbor a lot and he's like fresh right out the gate. And I
Yep.
have to be like, all right, slow it down, buddy. We're not flying out of we're not horses. This isn't a race.
Yeah.
And I take like 5 miles to warm up now. Like I'm like, I don't feel good unless I run 7 to 10 miles. Like a 4 mile run is I feel kind of just poopy the whole time.
Hmm.
Some days and not all the time, but some days I'm just like, I didn't run long enough to feel like great
Yeah.
from it now. But with that first mile, Garmin's always like -2. And you're like, thanks, buddy.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah.
Yeah. That's not encouraging. So I've had ones where times it'll be like -6, and you're like, that's
Oh,
just rude.
I know. You're like, I'm going to get some consolation from Chat GPT.
Yeah. So it's one of those ones where the metrics are fantastic. Like I love the stats. I love to know how many miles did I run this year.
Hmm.
I'm less about, as you get older, as streak can change, life changes,
Hmm.
I'm not as quick as I used to be. And so now I care less about pace. I care about how it feels, am I proud of
Hmm.
like whatever effort? So now I'm less about the data. And so it's a
Yep.
good like reminder where the data is helpful, the metrics are helpful. but it can't be the be all end all. The clock doesn't,
Yeah.
don't run and live and die by the clock with your goals or your
Hmm.
assessment of how good of a run that was or how good of a race that was. There's a lot of ways for a race or a run to be successful. The clock is one of those.
Yeah, Strava just gave me my my year in sports summary for 2025.
Mm, yeah.
And one of my goals last year was to run more elevation.
Oh, love that.
Yeah, it said I did 55,000 feet of elevation. And I
Nice.
was like, oh, this is good and bad because, I've already skied 11 days this winter and it's counting the elevation from my ski tracks.
That's cool. I've seen the ski runs on like I find that fascinating because I use Strava like if I'm kayaking or
Yeah,
I have a stand-up paddleboard. There's an
yeah,
option for that.
yes, they added
There's an
more.
option for skiing. That's
Yeah,
so cool.
yeah, and Garmin now on my watch they added an option for motorboating and Land Rovering and all this stuff because I was always setting my watch like, okay, we're going on that boat. All right, I'm going for a walk. So Garmin was giving me credit for these things, and I didn't know it was doing this.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, well, that was the day we went boating. Or I would say, oh, I'm going velomobiling or something. But then I noticed I don't think when I tell it that we're going in a Land Rover, like in a bus or a car or something, like it doesn't upload to Strava. I'm like, I use this
Mm,
to track my vacations. Like when we take a tour bus around, I want the route.
that's so funny. See, that's so funny. I love that everybody has their own little data points that they love. Because I track walks just because I like to see how much exercise my dogs are getting. So when I take them on walks, I track that.
Are your dogs on a streak too?
Yeah, they walk every day. No, but it is just I never knew about like even Land Rover or anything. I always figure if I'm on my feet and I'm doing some sort of activity, like I do like it when I'm traveling and we're
Hmm.
like going for a walk. I will sometimes Strava the walk because I like to see the map of like, oh, look at all the places we bopped around to and
Yeah.
Edinburgh or like wherever.
Hmm.
So yeah, so I do enjoy it for that. It's very fun. And then other times I'm like, forget the watch. I don't care.
Yeah, I love the watch. I have to do it. Yeah.
The only downside of loving our watches, like our us runners do,
Hmm.
is the watch tan for
Oh,
formal events, especially because I got married in July.
yeah.
And so and I have a permanent watch tan line, right?
Yeah.
And my husband would not have cared, but I was like, I'm not wearing my Garmin for the ceremony as much as I wanted to. And which I have girlfriends who have gotten married and wore their watches. And I was like, I love that for you. That's adorable.
Oh.
But
Mhm.
so it's the watch tan line. And so I have a specific bracelet that is chunky enough that is like a multi-strand set of fake pearls that I'll
Yep.
wear that
Yep.
hides the watch tan.
I think that's what I wore too.
Yeah, yes. That's the only time I take it off is like a formal event. And I think we went to a wedding this fall and I think I put my watch around my ankle. I was like, I still need the steps.
It doesn't count for your streak though.
No, it does not count for the streak, but I like to get all my steps in. I like to so yeah, so just kind of funny. Man, us runners in our watches, the shoes,
Hmm.
certain things that we all wear or fuel with. It's very funny. And like I think the thing is whatever works for you, that's what you should do.
Hmm.
Because what works for me, what shoes I like, that's always, I have friends who are getting into running. My sister bought a new pair of running shoes and she's like, what should I get? And it's like, you should get fitted and get what you like and what works for your dynamics and
Hmm.
your,
Yeah.
mechanics.
Yep.
That's always like one of my big takeaways is that well, do whatever works for you. If it's wearing the watch all the time, even with your fancy dress, I love that for you.
Yeah. Somebody asked me what shoes I wear. I'm like, well, I wear Brooks
Mm,
Adrenaline. And then they were going to buy them. And I'm like, no, I can just see you standing here that you have pronated arches and I don't, and so those shoes are not going to work for you. Don't buy what I buy. Buy what works for you. Yeah. And getting fitted at a professional running store makes all the difference.
huge,
Yeah.
huge,
And
huge, huge, huge. I've been in the same model of running shoes for 13, 14 years now.
hmm.
And I got fitted. And then I went probably about a year or two ago and got refitted. And they recommended the same shoe again. And I was like, yep, that's it. That's my shoe.
That's good.
And I think, and I credit that is, because everybody does the super shoes and like to make you
Yeah.
quicker. And, you know, I PR'd in 12-ounce shoes that were soaking wet in the rain. And like, it keeps me injury free. And so
Yes.
I think that's the big thing is, there's those trends to do these fast, speedy shoes and they
Yep.
might make you faster, but if they injure you and then you can't run for a month, I don't see the benefit of that. And
Yeah.
so that's like, I think that's one of the tips to my streak longevity is not being sucked into trends or sucked into like what's popular and
Mm-hmm.
doing what fits you best. Even if it's a heavier shoe, which is what I run in. I run in a notoriously heavy shoe, but it keeps me
Mm-hmm.
going, keeps my mechanics good and, injury free most of the time. So
Okay. So you have to tell us what it is.
it's an Asics Gel Kayano.
Okay. I've not tried those.
It's Oh yeah, it's a stability shoe. When I first started in them, they were over 12 ounces. They have gotten lighter because Asics is awesome,
Mm-hmm.
and I wish they would sponsor me. But
Shout out to Asics.
shout out to Asics. Yeah, I think the newest ones are last time I checked, they were like 9.3 ounces, which is, compared to those super shoes, drastically heavier. I'm not a
Yeah.
super shoe nerd. I just, when you stick with what works for you, I don't really listen to the noise of all these other metrics of other fast shoes. I've never tried the Nikes. I just don't care.
Yeah. I find that
So
regular Nikes are just too narrow for my feet.
yeah, I've never particularly liked them. The shoes I walk in are actually Brooks. I have a pair of Brooks Ghosts that I literally walk all day in, and they're the most comfortable shoes. I could wear them everywhere, but I hate running in them.
Mm-hmm.
Love walking in them.
Okay. So when you go to Tokyo, how many shoes are you bringing?
At least two. So I'm gonna have I just bought a brand new pair of Brooks for walking the dogs that I used to walk in the dogs. And I literally told my husband, I was like, I'm gonna bring these to Tokyo. And he was like, okay. Because we're gonna be walking a lot. And I'm like, these are like perfect. And then I'll bring my running shoes, obviously. And then yeah, I don't know, maybe slipper. That honestly, one of my favorite things that I brought to Antarctica that everybody on the boat commented on was I brought my slippers and it was just
Mm-hmm.
a basic slide on slipper, but I got to wear them all around the boat and everyone was like, that was genius. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty proud of bringing these.
Yeah.
I feel pretty cozy.
Yep. Yeah. I got a pair of indoor slippers I wear that have a pretty thick sole, some
Hmm.
cheapy things I got from Costco, and they're great for road trips because you can wear them in the
Yeah,
car and
yes.
stuff.
Yes, it's so I don't know if that's one of those things of it just as you age, you get more I just like to be comfortable. I just want to be comfortable. I don't like anything that feels restrictive or ugh. And so the
Hmm.
slippers are like game changing. Walking around on like hard floors in a hotel room or, even at home on
Yep.
my hardwood floor, I'm like, I need my slippers.
Hmm.
My feet are important. Got to keep those healthy.
If we're in a hotel and they have free slippers, I always use them. And then I always take them with me. And then when
Love
I get
it.
them home, I'll wear them and then I'll wash them a couple times. And my husband's like, stop taking the toiletries and the slippers from the hotel. I'm like,
So
but I love them.
shout out to all of the people who like to take the toiletries from hotels
Uh-huh.
because there is a secondary use for them that I'm going to plug since it's part
Okay.
of the world that I write grants in. Often shelters, whether
Yep.
they're for women, kids, homeless, the unhoused population, shelters, community college students, foster youth, toiletries, when you go to any food bank or any type of service that supports people,
Yep.
toiletries and hygiene products are one of the most in need items. So I am a little toiletry from hotel order, and then I put them together in a bag and I take them to any type of food pantry, food bank, shelter, and they give
Hmm.
them out. And so it is such a great additional use for them. Even your slippers, if you wear them and you bring
Yep.
them home and you wash them, they're great to donate to shelters. There's such a good need for those. So just
Hmm.
something if people I know you travel a lot, I travel a lot. So anybody who wants to now they started doing those big pump bottles in the wall to help reduce the plastic, which is lovely.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
but it does put a kink in my donation bag. So
And then I'll have my little travel bottle with me because I still always
yes.
bring one because you never know when
Yes,
you're going
same.
to end up at some weird gym or pool or rec center or something.
Or maybe their conditioner is just subpar.
Yeah. And then I'll fill up with the little pumps.
Nice. That's genius. That's actually very
I
smart.
know. I know. I'm like, okay, this is my frugal nature. I can't help it. I can't help it. I just need like four pumps from
Yeah,
because
I love to
sometimes
reuse
I'm,
the little travel bottles.
plus sometimes I may not take a shower at the hotel or I may not
Mhm.
wash my hair. So I'm like, okay, I'll just take the shampoo with me.
Yep. I love that. That's so funny.
All these little things we do with our frugal natures.
Well, it's good tier, you paid for it, you can use it, whether you use it or pass it on, it's still getting used, which is great.
Yeah. Today you're really, really a happy woman. It's just awesome. You can feel the joy coming out of you. I loved meeting you in Antarctica and reconnecting again in London. It's been so fun. And then you shared some news with me that I was really surprised to hear that you actually had been in an abusive relationship. And when you were running, that you were running away from home. You wanted to leave home. Like you couldn't wait to get out and run and not come home. And today, you can't wait to get home. Do you mind talking about that? Like what was going on?
Yeah, thanks for asking about that. It's not super widely known, but I was, as you mentioned at the top of it, I was married when I was younger, and it sadly ended up turning abusive. And so, when we started dating, I had just run my first marathon. We had met through grad school. And then, he was very supportive of that until he wasn't. And then it kind of
Hmm.
became, and I've struggled with that in relationships between then and now. And that was always something I kind of wanted in a partner, was somebody who would be supportive of my running, because I found that sometimes people, there can be jealousy about it. And so sadly, when that dynamic turned to be unhealthy, I found running was my outlet. It gave me time to get away, be in a safe space on my own, process what I was going through, think about, what can I do? What would be a good next step? How do I handle this?
Hmm.
And at the time, again, pivoting back to with social media, with forums, this was over a decade ago. And while we had those things, a lot of this is still not widely talked about. I don't
Hmm.
think I've ever spoken to anybody very candidly about it outside of people that I'm exceptionally close to. And even then, it's still like, it's not a fun thing to talk about. And so it's not
No.
something that is like easy to share. But I do think the
Hmm.
more people that are candid about it in wider audiences outside of their, close personal relationships, the more it helps kind of shed light on a lot of women experience this. And a lot of people experience this. It's not just women. Anybody can be
Hmm.
affected by this type of sad relationship dynamic. And so I was a runner before we started dating and got married. I was a runner while we were married. And for a time, he was incredibly supportive over that. And then suddenly it became something that he knew was taking me away. And so there was that kind of
Uh-huh.
aspect of control. And
Yeah.
so, yeah. And so that was tough. And so I was putting, funny enough, the fastest I ever was when I was the most unhappy, because I was
Yeah.
putting all of this energy into this outlet, and at least I was getting back what I was putting into it. And so I was running an hour plus every day. I was strength training. I was, cross training. I was working out, 2 to 3 hours every day, just as this outlet for all of this like emotion that I was going through. And it translated into very successful period of time with running.
Hmm.
And so it was lovely for that, to feel a sense of confidence in something when, I was struggling with something else so different.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, so running kind of gave me that. And then the last time that it got physical, I was actually very hurt by it. And I had to, see a doctor and go through some physical therapy. And I was about 15 months or so, 13 months or so into my run streak. It was January of 2015. And I was training for my first Boston. And I just decided, like, he doesn't get to take this away from me. I'm not doing
Hmm.
this anymore. So having this run streak and having done it for about 13 months at that point, which at that time sounded insane. I started the run streak with
Yeah.
the goal of 12 days. I just wanted to do 12 days over
Oh,
the Christmas holiday. I work in higher ed,
okay.
so I had 12 days off of work. I'm going to run every day. I don't work. I have no excuses.
Oh,
Trying
great.
to qualify for Boston. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. And so, yeah, so going through that, experiencing that, I had about a 2 week stint after I was injured through that situation, to where I was just running on a track at work. I work on a college campus, so there's a little track I could run on. And I was just
Hmm.
kind of hunched over, kind of hobbling, crying. Pretty
Yeah.
painful, but I just,
Yep.
I just said to myself, he doesn't get to take this. And so I did my mile, I cross trained, I went to some physical therapy to kind of work on this back injury that I had had from that. And then I had about 2 months to train for Boston, and I just put every ounce of energy I had into that. It's still my marathon PR.
Oh.
I ran 2:53 in the rain. and
Uh,
and then we separated shortly after that. And, running was still my outlet. And in every relationship from that, I kept looking for the right person who could be somebody who was excited for my running, was supportive of my running, he saw it as a part of who I was and, something that was special with it. And that wasn't always the case. People would say they were supportive. And then when it took time, because I got to go run now, no, sorry, I can't go out to dinner with you and your friend because I haven't run yet today. So that means I need to go run. I can meet you later. And so there
right.
was a lot of dynamics with that the sacrifice that I make every day to go run
Hmm.
was impact different relationships. And that was kind of one of the big tests. And so when I met my husband and we started talking, and he was so sweet about it and he was so complimentary. And one of the big tests for me was show up for a race, see how it goes, see how they
Yep.
handle it. And he was great. He was so cute. He was so supportive. It was exactly what I had been
Hmm.
looking for.
Yeah.
And now I kind of am like, oh, I'm probably, at I don't want to say slowest, but I'm definitely not anywhere as quick as I used to be. But
Uh-huh.
it's, you always it's like relationship happy where you're just like, oh, like,
Yeah.
I want to come home to my husband. I just want to hang out with him.
Yeah.
And so it's quite the pivot. We just got
Hmm.
married this last July, so we're just 6 months in
Yep.
and to being married. And I did a race last month, and he just is the best. He was at the halfway point and I got to toss him my gloves and I was like, I'm hot. And he's like, I'll take
Uh-huh.
those. And
Yep.
he's just the cutest. He's so supportive. And
Hmm.
we were dating when we went to Antarctica, and
Um,
he woke up at like 2 a.m. to track me on the website. And like
oh.
when I've run Berlin, when I've run London,
Yep.
he sadly hasn't got to go on those trips yet because of his work. And so
Hmm.
yeah, it is. It's just this funny where I'm like, yeah, I might not be like my most successful with running, but I'm definitely the happiest I've ever been. And
Yeah.
so it's like I will happily take that. And that's why, as I
Mhm.
mentioned earlier, I stand by the fact that like the clock is one metric, but now I get to do this thing that I love, and then I have this partner who loves
Yeah.
it and loves me equally in that he just likes that this makes me so happy.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome. So when I first started running, I I started I kind of accidentally got into running a
Hmm.
marathon, but I signed up for the Twin Cities Marathon in 2004, which ended up being my first marathon. And for like 6 months before that, I've been dating this guy, and I told him I was so excited. I'm like, I just signed up for a 10K in March, and we're in line at Arby's. We're going to order some sandwiches. I'm like, I'm really excited. I signed up for this 10K in March. And he looks at me and he goes, now, how much time is that going to take away from us?
Oh,
I was so mad. It was so wrong. And he says it in such a matter of fact, smug way that, of
yeah,
course, you understand that I'm being bad. I'm being selfish by signing up for this 10K.
yeah,
And my response was, well, I'm already running 10 miles. A 10K is only 6 miles.
yeah.
It won't take any time away, you know? And then they get in more and more comments like that.
Yeah.
Like they're jealous, like exactly what you said, that it's going to take time away from them.
Yep.
I'm like, how needy are you? I mean, there were many other signs that I
Oh, yeah.
chose to ignore, that I blew off.
We do, and that's
Yeah.
normal. But I think with any hobby, like I don't care if it's running, if it's triathlons, if it's knitting. I have a lot of friends who are very talented, knitting, crocheters. Forgive
Yeah.
me, I'm not that astute on the difference, but they make these beautiful clothes, pieces of art, doily, whatever the case may be.
Hmm.
Reading, I have friends who are like voracious readers, and it's like whatever Lego, I don't care what it is, like
Yeah.
whatever your hobby is, like whomever you're with should be your cheerleader for that. And I think
Yeah.
that's important. And I'm like you, I ignored, and then it's funny because it was always a different red flag, but they were always a red flag of like
Yeah.
that I would ignore because I'm like, but they're so nice. Maybe they just don't get my running. And
Right.
that's fine. They don't need to be runners. So I dated the plethora of, okay, I'll date a runner, they'll get it. No, they don't like it when I beat them in a race. Okay, I'll date a triathlete, which happens. They do not like that. Not all, but the ones I dated definitely did not. So
Uh-huh.
they do not like it when you beat them. So I'll date a triathlete because it's different.
Yeah.
No, that didn't work either. They still didn't like that. And then I'll date a yogi. No, he's weird. He didn't like that either. I'm still jealous. So it's just like I tried everything. I dated the plethora. And
Uh-huh.
then my husband is very active. He likes to run, but he is, not a runner. He's done one marathon.
Mm-hmm.
He did the original Athens marathon. Yep,
Wow.
very cool.
Yep.
And then he's in the military, so he's in the army. So he does rucks and stuff. And then
Oh, yeah. Okay.
yeah, he used to be a professional MMA fighter. And so he
Oh,
he gets it. And so, and he struggled in the past as well with previous relationships who didn't understand his fighting. Like, hey, I can't go out with you to the bar on Friday night. I have a fight, so I can't do anything and I'm gonna be really boring.
yeah. Yeah.
So he
Boring and
gets,
tired. And I need to go to
yeah,
bed
and like,
early and I'm not going to drink.
yeah, because I gotta cut weight, like,
Yeah.
And so he gets it. And so it's just very funny. I didn't intend to date somebody who was so different, but it kind of worked out. And then he's just like the best. He gets to go to Tokyo. And
Oh.
the most exciting part about doing Tokyo is obviously the 6 star. But
Hmm.
for me, it is that he gets to finally share it with me
Yes.
and gets to be there for that. Like I'm so stoked that he gets to finally be there for a marathon because he's done every other race distance with me, but except for the marathon.
Uh-huh. Well,
Uh,
I'm excited to see you guys again in Tokyo.
Oh yeah,
That's
you'll
going to be
you'll
awesome.
get to meet him. He's the best.
Yep, yep, yep. And Mike's coming with me. We're getting our
Oh,
itinerary planned out. I'm very excited about that. Oh, so thanks for the referral. You
oh
suggested staying at
yes,
the World Friendship Center in
yes. I hope they
Hiroshima.
treat you well. Yes, we had the best time when I stayed with them years ago,
Hmm.
and yeah, I can't recommend them enough. So I hope you enjoy it as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I want to do a little PSA here
Okay.
because, that kind of abuse, that the struggle that you go through with someone who loves you, but it comes out in some really perverted ways, unfortunately. And it's so insidious that people may not recognize it. You just know that it doesn't feel right. And so I just want to do a PSA if people are struggling with abuse or if they find themselves doing some things, that there is places they can reach out for help. One of them is the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. And their website is thehotline.org. So some of the things that people may do, some red flags, is that they diminish your feelings and your perceptions. They tell you that you're wrong a lot, even when the truth is obvious. They'll deny it. And the abuser may often be hot and cold, like Jekyll and Hyde. They're super, super loving one minute and angry or unreasonable the next. And really, how many hours of anger do you have to put up with to get that 15 minutes of affection? And women do this too. So it's not just men, it happens on both sides. And if you find yourself and your kids anxious around them all the time, just waiting for them to get mad again, that's a sign that something's wrong. They may expect their kids to understand them or act in ways that are older than their abilities. And they might get angry with their kids for not complying or for doing something they would typically do, like wet their pants. Even though it's inconvenient for you or as a parent, a supportive person is always sympathetic to anyone who wets their pants, young or old, and helps them clean up and doesn't shame them. Because we all know what happens, and anger does not help except to an abuser. If these people are wonderful in public, in front of other people, yet insult you in private, they can put on a great act so everybody else thinks they're great, but it's getting twisted behind the scenes. They're jealous and unsupportive of you. They may not support your efforts to get healthy or to do workouts, or if you're trying to eat better, they might sabotage you. They might say, "Oh, here's a gift. I'm going to give you some candy. It's this loving gift. I know you like chocolate." But that's really sabotaging you, because as long as you're weak or somehow unattractive or financially dependent on them, then they have all the control and all the power in the relationship. And they're afraid that if you get stronger in any way, shape, or form that you will leave them. And you can never win an argument with this person, and they'll minimize the badness of their actions and say they're sorry, or even say it's your fault for upsetting them. They'll blame you. So please reach out if anyone is treating you like this, or if you find yourself doing those kind of things. Look within yourself. And so, again, that is the National Domestic Violence Hotline. The number is 1-800-799-7233, and their website is thehotline.org. Did you reach out to anybody? When did you know that you would have to make a change, or what gave you that strength to say, well, you already told us that you were running in Boston. You weren't going to let him hurt you anymore. But did you reach out to anyone else beforehand?
No. And that's kind of a sad thing. So I grew up in a pretty conservative Christian family. And so when I got married, it was not an option. And the sad part is the first time it ever happened was on our honeymoon. And
Mm-hmm.
I just remember I couldn't tell anybody. And then of course he was immediately apologetic, immediately said sorry, it'll never happen again. And
Yeah.
and that's part of the lies that they tell
Yeah.
is that, and then you think, well, it just happened once, and we make excuses. And that's just the nature of people. We want to look for the best in people.
Yeah.
It's never 100% of the time. They wouldn't be able to keep you if it was 100% of the time. And
Right.
so it might gradually increase over time as your wherewithal to put up with it increases.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, if you're in an argument and they slap you and then they say they'll never do it again, or they push you like that, because if you stay, then you have given them permission that if you slap me, I will stay.
Yes.
And then that makes it in their brain, they know you won't leave. And so then they're going to do it again. And
Yep.
so that's what's really scary. Is I didn't have anybody to talk to about it. I was too embarrassed. I kept it quiet for about 3 years and I didn't tell anybody. And
Mm-hmm.
and then, it after the first time it happened on the honeymoon, I was like, do I get like an annulment? Like I literally, and I didn't know what to do. And we were on in a secluded island with no
Uh-huh.
wife, we didn't pay, it was like a bunch of money for the Wi-Fi package. And I didn't, so we didn't have any, so I couldn't talk to anybody. And
Yeah.
so then it was funny because then the next time it happened again, we were on vacation. It was a place that I couldn't leave. And so slowly, when you don't have experience, and again, when you don't talk about these things, and I think that's why it is important to make it a wider conversation, as hard as it is to talk about, is then you can understand things a little bit better. Is when it was happening, it was always in a place where I couldn't leave. I was in a controlled, I was in a foreign country in an environment that I couldn't just hop on a plane. I couldn't hop in my car and drive home. Like that wasn't an option. And
Mm-hmm.
so then you start to kind of put together these pieces of, well, he can control it when like you mentioned, in front of other people. He only
Mm-hmm.
does it when there's not other people. And so then you think about it, and then they use the excuse, I'm sorry, I was out of control, I was drunk, whatever the case may be. And it's like, well, you didn't do that at work. You didn't do that to your boss. You didn't do it to your best friend. You did it to me in an environment. So you can control it. You're choosing not to.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so it ends up, and you slowly, sadly, through experience and through, occurrences of it, you kind of gather a set of data on your own, which is how I did it. And then I actually read a book, and the book was really pivotal for me. It was at that same period in my life, and it was Gavin de Becker, The Gift of Fear. Anybody who's been in an abusive relationship knows what book I'm talking about.
Okay.
And that was, so really Gavin's book was the big kind of impetus for me for like understanding this isn't going to change because I'm putting up with it. And so it was imperative that I just kind of decided. And so there was one statistic, and it was, anybody who chokes you is about 10 times more likely to kill you. And I'm sorry, this is supposed to be an upbeat
Yeah.
podcast. So I do apologize for this very scary statistic. But yeah,
Yeah.
and that was something that had happened to me. And that kind of just sat in my brain. And at that
Mm-hmm.
point, it was manifesting itself. My anxiety was manifesting in other ways. I could not sleep, and I was like terrified that somebody was going to break in. And so I was getting up multiple times a night, checking the doors, checking the windows, like constantly checking locks. And I had 4 dogs, a fenced in yard, a security system, and I still was afraid. And then through reading this book and doing some self work and kind of realizing, oh, I'm actually not afraid of what's outside. I'm afraid of what's inside.
You're afraid of what's
And
inside.
yeah, and so it was really just, and I had nobody to talk to about it. And when I left, I was met with, a very conservative Christian community. And somebody had even asked me, well, how many times did it happen?
Mm-hmm.
Like it needed to happen X number of times for it to be okay to get divorced.
Right.
And that
Yeah.
still, again, that comment was said over 10 years ago and it still hurts me. It still kind of is like this little,
Hmm.
mark I bear, because it
Yeah.
was from somebody who I love. And they have apologized for that comment. Like I don't hold any ill will for it, but you can't
Hmm.
unhear those words and that judgment.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so it was very difficult. I still, my friends in Raleigh have been here a decade. Most of them are be like, "You were married? Didn't know that." So they don't even know. And like that's fine. And I do want to say with the caveat of I'm a big believer in people are capable of growth, people are capable of change, people are capable of maturing and realizing, hey, I'm sure guys I've dated have been like, she was a mess. Like I'm sure at some point
Yeah.
I dated somebody who would be like not my biggest fan.
Me too.
So yeah, 100%. And I fully am like, yeah, they're probably right. But I will say that my ex worked on himself. He was, after we got divorced, it took some time. He went to therapy. He got some help. We had a very at a distance, but like amicable friendship after. We don't talk anymore, but like
Hmm.
we got to a place where I know that he was sorry. I know that part of it was from his own upbringing and his own stuff that he had grown up with and went through. And it
Hmm.
manifested in that. And so to
Yeah.
give him a little grace and to give him some snaps and kudos for going through his own journey and healing journey, just as I have, and just understanding and like, we don't have to be perfect. We can do bad things. That doesn't make us bad people. And so
Hmm.
that was a big part of it for me as well. And just going and, I think he's a better person. I think he's gone through it. And I just wish him like the ultimate best. And I know I'm like weirdly a better person for it as well because it's not bad 100% of the time. He was my best friend. He was an incredible person.
Hmm.
It just was this one dynamic that was, yeah, it's just not okay. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, and so I think that's important to share as well is, I actually don't have any ill will for him anymore. And yeah, it's a good place to be in with that.
Yeah. I mean, you get that sense of betrayal. This person loved you, and I'm sure part of him did. And that's what they say makes it so hard to take, hard to face because they do love you. They
Oh yeah.
believe you are the savior. They can't live without you, and they may not realize how their behavior is coming out. And it's exactly what you said. They do it in a place where you can't leave, and that
Hmm.
the power trip is kind of a high. Like it makes them feel in control. Like you won't leave them no matter what. You're constantly proving how much you love them.
Yeah.
And
I also, there's buzzwords, but hurt people. And
yeah.
with his own experience in life and relationship, not to make excuses because it's not okay. But, he had gone through his own things as well. And that was unfortunately how he expressed when he was feeling things.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it's again, I like people can do bad things and they're not bad people. I don't think people are irredeemable. I've written grants for justice involved individuals to work on integrating them back in society and knowing that, hey, just because you did something bad doesn't mean it's over. We can work past that, we can move on. You can have a second chapter, you can have a fifth chapter, you can have a 20th chapter.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that's an important part of the story as well is it is something I experienced. It's something that affected me for a very long time, still does. But I think that if you learn from it and you grow from it, both him and I think that's an important thing as well. So once that dynamic has been established, I can't stress this
Mhm.
enough. It has to be done because
Yeah.
the second it becomes physical, it's just not okay.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's an important thing to stress is that once that boundary is crossed, there's no going back from that. And so you really just have to make sure that, those boundaries are important.
Yeah. It's a pivotal change in your relationship when somebody
Mhm.
becomes physically abusive.
Yeah.
And a lot of spouses don't believe that you'll leave them, until they won't change. They won't believe that it's really that bad until you leave. And another thing I've learned is that sometimes that it's just you don't even bother going to counseling because for them they're not going to acknowledge it right away because like you said they're hurt people and they need a lot on their end to fix it. And so sometimes you just have to leave without even trying to go through counseling because then they need that trigger to go, "Oh, she is actually leaving. oh, maybe there's something wrong. Oh, maybe now I'll go to counseling, but it may not be
Yeah.
the answer. It's really upsetting, but I do appreciate you sharing that, for this public service announcement part of our
Yeah.
our podcast, because it is critical, and that is one kind of thing that people go through you may not realize, where you need some coping skills. Okay, so the book that you mentioned,
Oh yeah. Gavin Becker, Gift of Fear.
The Gift of Fear. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so anybody check that out if you need to.
Yeah, if you're ever wondering, he speaks, and it's not just within, relationships. I think it's a good life lessons because, like, what women, we're runners. How many times a year do we see a news story about a woman out for a run and then something bad happens to her? And, I've had somebody try to grab me on a run before.
Yeah.
I know other people have had very difficult experiences with, being grabbed or approached or accosted while running.
Yep.
And so it's not just in relationships, it's about life. And so he's like a top security expert, like incredibly
Hmm.
a storied career on security and been to many dangerous places. He has multiple books about, his travels to different places and the dangerous zones he's been to, but also so he talks about we have an internal, and everybody has it. It's an internal sense of, that sixth sense, that gut feeling, whatever you want to call it, of
Hmm.
something's not right. And so it's just about tuning in and trusting that
Yep.
and being just really in tune with your senses on, okay, I don't know why I'm anxious right now, or something's making me nervous. What's the deal? And it's interesting too, because I see it in my husband a lot
Uh-huh.
due to he did a tour 9 months in combat in Afghanistan, and
Oh,
we'll be out to dinner, and he is like surveying. He just can't turn
yeah.
it off. And that's,
Uh-huh.
that's his sixth sense. That's his gut. It's just like he has to be very aware because he spent so long in combat and he lost friends right next to him. And that was a really difficult experience for him. And so he just tunes into that. And he just can't shut that off. And then we as women have that just natural. You ever noticed a man in a parking lot? Men walk to their cars and they lollygag. And it is like the funniest thing because they are just like,
Yeah.
"Boo-doo, not a care in the world in the parking lot, in the parking
Yep.
garage, like whatever." And us
Yep.
women, we're like, we got to get in, lock the doors.
Yeah.
It's so,
Yep.
it's just, so the book is about that, but he uses and he talks to different survivors of different experiences and shares their stories in a way that's really kind of tunes into personal experience or, yeah, it's just a great resource. I recommend it to everybody. I have a copy of it. It's actually free online. Sorry to kill the book sales, Gavin, but you can find a free copy online.
I'll buy
So
one.
it's just,
I'll pay for
yeah,
it.
it's great. Yeah, I've had it for years and I'll reread it every once in a while. And, and I think the big takeaway from that book is, trusting your gut, trusting your instincts. And that can also be applied to running is, tuning in. How's this
Yeah.
run feel? Listening to your body, listening to, today feels a little harder. Maybe I need to relax a little bit and pull back. This feels a little easier. I can push it a little bit today. So I think the streak and running every day, one of the things that has taught me is I'm very in tune with how I'm feeling. I have a
Mhm.
physical therapist that I see on occasion when I've got little tweaks and, kinks and twerks here and there that I need worked out. And
Mhm.
she always tells me, you're so in tune with what's going on. And I think that's such an important part of, any activity, anything you do that's physical, living your life is just from an all around like health standpoint is, hey, this feels off, or hey, I'm not sleeping well, or, hey, I've got a headache. And then just trying to figure out, okay, what's the deal? What's going on?
Yeah.
And just listening to that and being in tune with that because, as you mentioned with your at the university in Minnesota that's doing this research, is health is such
Yeah.
an important aspect. Health is wealth. And so
Yes.
being in tune with how I'm feeling, hey, I feel unsafe in this situation. Something's making the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, or hey, like I've got this weird feeling in my stomach that maybe I should get checked out. And so, the book dials into situational awareness, but I also think physical, personal, I'm getting very woo woo.
I love it. So yeah, I suppose we should probably wrap it up. I just still love talking to you. I got two final questions for you. I really appreciate you being on the show. And well, thank you for sharing your personal story today. I know that's hard to talk about. I'm really glad that you were able to change your life around, make that big decision to get into a safe place, leave a relationship, and then thrive with your running. You are totally unstoppable. So my question number one is, what is your bigger purpose?
So I think my big purpose is trying to get the most out of myself and my life, whether that's big, whether that's little.
Mhm.
It's in my own way. I know a lot of people talk about a legacy or, they have children and they want to raise, the next generation.
Mhm.
And I think legacy can be whatever you want it to be.
Mhm.
And I think mine is just trying to get the most out of any situation, any experience, and then hopefully leaving it better than I found it. I try to hope, I don't have to leave anything physical once I'm not here anymore. But if,
Yeah.
I had a positive impact on somebody, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a coworker, whether it's bringing joy to somebody, taking a really good picture of them while they're on vacation and they just wanted to capture this moment. And I stopped for a minute to take that.
Yeah.
Whatever the situation is just trying to leave any situation, any experience better than I found it. And, running has given me the gift of taking me a lot of places and helping me meet a lot of cool people like you. And
Yeah.
so that has kind of been just my big thing on I've always kind of had these big goals, even from when I was younger, on just wanting to see and experience and relate to people. And I think that's the most important part is just kind of being a positive impact on wherever you're at.
Oh, I love that. Being a positive impact. Yeah, I always know that running or your hobby is always about more than that hobby. Running is always about more than running. And for me, like you, I have a bigger purpose. So I'm going to do a little
Yeah,
plug here for my charity. If you want to make a bigger impact beyond yourself, please donate to my charity for medical research at unstoppablestoriesthatmove.com. We're trying to cure cancer and other diseases, and it's out there. It takes a village.
definitely does.
Okay, so then I got my final question for you. Question number
Okay.
2. What makes you unstoppable?
So this relates to my tip. So hopefully I won't give too much away for the next part. So what makes me unstoppable, I think, is just showing up every day, regardless of how I'm feeling, regardless of whatever, you know, is thrown at me that day. I carve out a little bit of every part or of every day to show up and commit to this thing that I do, which is run streaking, and give
Mhm.
myself at least that time every day. A lot of people talk about consistency. There's like the whole 10,000 hours principle, but I think it's just the choice has been made. I made it long ago that I will at least commit to taking out at least a mile a day for myself, for this goal, for this thing that I do that I've cultivated and kind of nurtured over the past decade plus. And yeah, something else will have to happen, unfortunately, for me to stop. Because I am committed. And I think my husband will say that's one of the things that he loves is he knows I'm committed. When I commit, I'm in. So and so, yeah, it's like, the choice has been made, and regardless of how you're feeling, you're committed to your husband. I'm committed, you just show up. You show up every day, no matter what state you're in, no matter what else is going on, you show up and
You're going to show up no matter what. You just keep showing up. Thanks for tuning in to this episode. I hope you enjoyed listening to it and learned a few things. Well, the people that we talked about today, they don't quit, and neither should you. Whether you're running marathons, rebuilding your life, or just searching for that next spark, you are more capable than you think. If this episode hits home, share it, subscribe, leave a review. Let's build this community together of relentless people who refuse to stop moving forward. And if you want to do something even bigger, support the mission. We're raising $1 million for medical research, and your support makes a difference. Check out our website at unstoppablestoriesthatmove.com. I'm Sally Head Dahlquist. Until next time, keep running, keep pushing, and never stop proving to yourself what's possible.